Clean, your assessment's all done for the day. Everything looks great. Your blood work came back as well, and everything checks out great up with that. One thing I did want to speak with you before you head out for this evening. Earlier, when I was talking to you about alcohol and tobacco usage, you did mention that you started smoking again. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind for us just to discuss that for a few minutes here.
No, not at all. Honestly, I just started smoking again in the past 3 years. I started graduate school, and I think just the stress started getting to me, and I so done. I quit like 5 years ago and stayed completely smoke free that whole time. So, yeah, I just shouldn't have started again.
I'm sorry to hear that you started smoking again. Many people will, in fact, relapse after being smoke-free for many years. Is there any certain reasons why you feel like you started smoking again? I know you mentioned um, going back to college. You felt that was a big thing.
Yeah, no, I think grad school is really stressful, and I used to work out every day, and with how busy I was with school and work, I just was only working out once or twice a week, and so I wasn't getting that either, and just the stress of school, not working out anymore, just kind of made me resort back to old habits that kind of helped make me feel better, or what I thought made me feel better. I don't know.
Sure. Well, it sounds like exercise helps decrease your stress levels, and now due to time crunch with school, you're not as likely to go and exercise, so your stress levels have come up. So, in order to kind of bridge that gap, you started smoking again. Um, I know you mentioned earlier that you were successful in quitting smoking previously. What methods did you use in order to quit?
Um, Used a few things. I used patches, I used vaping, prescriptions, gum, pretty much everything you can think of. I stayed away from like drinking in bars around people where I would normally go out and have a cigarette with. My husband would actually talk to me on the phone because it's a habit for me just to have a cigarette when I'm driving. And so he would try and talk to me, and that would just kind of take my mind off things. Um, Really, the thing that worked the best was just the patch. And then I had like mints with me all the time. Every time I wanted to put a cigarette in my mouth, I would just put one of those in my mouth. And that helped the most, I think, out of
Sure.
everything I tried. And then besides that, yeah, just the avoidance of those triggers. And then I'd only carry a few cigarettes at a time, like one to three. And then once I was done with those, no matter what happened, I couldn't have any more cigarettes for the day. So
Sure.
that really helped too.
Well, it sounds like you're less likely to smoke when you're around other people. And you mentioned um, talking to your husband when driving. Do you feel like that you're less likely to smoke when you're on the phone with someone to stay busy, or?
I think if I'm not just sitting around doing something mundane like driving, I mean, I'm paying attention when I'm driving, but I just think about, okay, I could just have a cigarette right now. But if I'm actually like, if someone's in the car with me, I never smoke with them in the car. But like, if someone's talking to me, if I put them on my Bluetooth and I'm talking to them, then I don't think about having a cigarette. So,
Sure. So you mentioned that you don't smoke when there's others with you. Do you feel like your husband would be willing to run errands with you in order to maybe help decrease your likelihood that you smoke and drive? Because it seems like those are kind of interlinked. Like you smoke and you drive. So if you can have someone there.
I definitely think he'd be willing to, if we're both free at the time, instead of just me going to the grocery store, coming with me. Obviously, when I'm going to work, he can't, but, talking to me in the mornings when I'm driving to work, I think he would, if it meant I wasn't smoking, I think that he would definitely be up to that.
Sure. Well, that's great that you have a good support system around you. You previously mentioned about only carrying so many at a time. Do you feel like that was helpful in ultimately you quitting smoking the first time around?
Yeah, definitely. Instead of having a whole pack of cigarettes with me, that's just kind of like, oh, well, I feel stressed right now, or I'm going to go take a break right now. I'm going to have a cigarette. Well, I only had 1 to 3 cigarettes. So it was like, if I smoked them all right away in the morning, then I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any the rest of the day. Like, it
Sure.
just really helped decrease the amount of cigarettes I was using along with like the other things I was doing. So,
Gotcha. So, in looking at how your confidence in what this quitting smoking means to you, if we can look, make a scale on a 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, that you are confident that you'll be able to become smoke free one day. How confident are you? What would you rate that?
I would say probably pretty high, like an 8. I've done it before. I know it's difficult, but I feel like I could do it again, especially, I'm going to be graduating in this next month. And so I'll just have so much more free time, and I feel like my stress levels will come down a bit too.
Sure.
So I think those are all good factors to helping me be able to do that.
Gotcha. And along the same lines, if we can use a scale or a rating system, on a scale of 0 to 10, how important is it to you that you quit?
I would say it's extremely important, like a 9 or 10, just because I know the risk factors for
Sure.
myself, just the heart disease, the different cancers, all those things. And I just hate my husband having to deal with it. I know we want to start a family. And so I just really want to quit, not only for my own health, but my family's health. So,
Well, that's great that you're not only confident that you can quit smoking, and then also that you see the importance of it as well. I know you mentioned that you're going to be graduating this month. Have you picked a certain date that you feel like maybe that's the day I should, quit smoking?
honestly, I hadn't really thought about it until we started having this conversation. So, but I think maybe the day that I graduate would be a good day, one more thing to celebrate, not smoking anymore. So,
Well, it's great that you have a date in mind. Do you plan on celebrating after graduation?
yeah, I mean, some of our friends own a bar, and I'm sure we'll go out and have some drinks afterwards. So,
Well, do you feel like you might be at more of a risk if you're around others? Do you think other people might be smoking at that event, or do you find yourself more likely to smoke when you have been drinking?
you kind of bring up a good point. I'm more likely to probably smoke because there are people that we're around that will smoke just when they're drinking and just drinking and celebrating. I'd probably be tempted to smoke at that time. So quitting that day probably isn't the best. Maybe like after that weekend, like that Monday or something would probably be a better day.
Yeah, I think if you would um, maybe pick the following Monday, that gives you a whole week before you're, potentially around others who are drinking or and smoking, or yourself drinking. Um, I would like to recap kind of what we were discussing. So we're thinking we'd like to pick a date, the Monday after graduation, to quit smoking. You're not only confident that you will be able to stop smoking, but you see the importance to this. You have a couple methods that you've used before that helped you quit, such as nicotine patches, breath mints that you mentioned, and then also being or avoiding others who are smoking have all helped, and the use of a support system such as your husband. You feel like that can help in bridging you off from smoking. So, do you have any questions in regards to any strategies in order to quit smoking?
I don't think so right now, just because I kind of know what I need to do and I understand why I need to do it. So right now, I think I'm good.
Okay, well, that's great news, Jacqueline. I'd like for you to follow up in 1 month's time to not only congratulate you for graduating school, but to check on to see how it's going in terms of quitting smoking. In the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns, please call the clinic and we can stay in touch.
That sounds great. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
All right. Thanks for stopping in today.
Yeah.